Well, this has been very, very interesting. Um, I think the breakout room, Anthony's speaking in the breakout room has really reinforced my idea that that the criminal justice system is a place of the greatest injustice in our country, and to put people in and with the idea of dehumanizing all the things that Anthony said at the beginning. It's always about punishment. It's always about, um, breaking someone down. And I think what we see is that when someone is broken, um, they can't move forward. And the goal of a punishment should be to punish, recant, and be able to move forward, be able to grow and change. I have to give Anthony just the most credit in the entire world, my for doing what he's doing, for saying that, take something into the prison, which will lead to growth and change, just like taking education into the system to lead to growth and change, to inform people that they're human beings and they're important wherever they are, and to reinforce that importance. But within a system where that's being taken away every single day, I, I mean, I have trouble seeing a vision of where this can go. The other thing that was mentioned was about the guards and the prisoners. And guards go in with the idea of they must have power, and that just power just increases over and over again. So it seems to me that the education needs to be with, and yoga behind bars needs to be for the guards as well, to see what their role can be. Well, you can have leadership, authority, and power while humanizing the people you're overseeing. I'm not sure how that can be done. This is a very perplexing, problem that I see, but it's really, really a place where a beginning needs to occur. Ali was saying that she is a volunteer in prisons where she will, a prisoner will complain about a guard, have the courage to complain about a guard, and then that will be taken further and investigated. I mean, just to have that courage to be the human being, to express your own ideas is just amazing to me. So I have no conclusion here except to say that yoga behind bars and mindfulness certainly do lead one step at a time to a change in a system that's really not rehabilitating um, many people at all. So now I will call on the different facilitators. And they are, oh, Natalie? I have to do gallery here.
Thank you, Mrs. Faley, for starting the debrief. That was great. And it's interesting. I think our group discussion can build on some of the things that you brought forth. First of all, we had perspectives coming from San Diego, LA, Connecticut, and Brooklyn and Long Island, all of the major food groups. No. And so it was interesting, but as you talked about the prison world, one of our speakers very astutely said that we are equally behind bars.
Mm.
And justice is truly a relationship. That relationship, as you talked about, the relationship in prison, or the relationship between the punisher and the one being punished. It does require us to really step back and look at some hard truths. And the truths, you know, if we look at a prison can be a microcosm of what we are actually experiencing in the real world, different levels, different experiences. But there is clear disparity among people because some have more power than others because of a given situation. We looked at the fact that when people have experiences with the justice system, it doesn't have to be a primary experience, right? You may not be the one actually having the experience, but that impact and that rippling effect is traumatic, regardless of your age or gender. We had someone in our group who said there are family members who have never met each other because of the length of incarceration that has happened in a family unit. We also have someone whose granddaughter was traumatized with a false accusation and accosted and was in a very precarious situation in a neighborhood that was predominantly white, and was actually saved or prevented from going down that slippery slope because one of the granddaughter's friends, the father was someone of stature in the police department. A fortunate relationship there. Yet, even after that, we think about the trauma that ensues. And we're all impacted in some way by the justice system. We had someone who started out saying, I've never directly been impacted by, the justice system, but I work passionately to help those who are in immigration trauma and facing deportation. I teach conflict resolution and mediation. But we got around to the fact that she is seeing every day people who are impacted by the justice system. So not having a direct relationship, but being impacted by the fact that your work and your passion is around undoing this terrible, terrible machine that has so many layers to it. That is a failed experiment, as Mrs. Faley spoke about. And the fact that there is so much around protecting that failed experiment, that code of silence, the blue wall, people who know that things are not working, but they can't bring themselves to let go and recognize the imperfection and the huge impact that it has on destroying the lives of so many people. And so we said, when thinking about, that statement on peace, peace should not be the end destination. Peace should be where we start. If we started with that inner peace, then we would actually see maybe a different world. And maybe that's the way to look at this huge monster that we really can't impact. We can't change these layers of white supremacy protocol and process that has created a value system that has its knee on the necks of certain people. But if we start with peace, which should be the birthright of everybody, every person, and keep looking for that peace, maybe the way we interact, maybe the way we talk with each other, maybe the way we respond to each other, just might be different. If justice is truly a relationship rather than a set of rules, maybe we can change that narrative. Maybe we can do something differently. The poet, this was a quote, "Iron bars do not a prison make," Robert Frost. Do we create our own prisons? Do we perpetuate the impact that prison and incarceration has on us by not doing something differently? The other comment was, we adjust our thermostats more frequently than we adjust ourselves. But we've not been taught to adjust ourselves. We've been taught to fit into someone else's narrative, someone else's rules, someone else's conclusions. And we have to start dismantling it in that way. And so that teaching conflict resolution, I give a high five to Ariella for starting to teach people how to deal with conflict differently can take us to a different place. Socialization is maybe where we need to start. We can't start at the end. We have to start at a different place. And so building on peace, one of our speakers talked about feeling validated that what we can do is create wellness environments where we sit today, create peace with the four walls that surround us every day. And if we can find a way to create peace within the spaces we inhabit, we can start to change the way we feel. And maybe we're not so angry, and maybe we're not so eager to accuse and judge people. How do we make this a kinder, gentler space? Definitely peace. Looking at where we are impacted by the justice system and doing what we can where we are, having those better conversations and doing something.
Thank you very, very much. Jerome.
Yes, let me unmute. Yes, all right.
Oh,
so I was in an excellent group with lots of energy, a group composed of different people, experienced people in social justice, as well as educators, but also people with multicultural background and unique perspectives. So we touched on a few themes around the question that were asked. And the first one, of course, about the what does the let's say the justice system, how is it and what does it mean to us and so on. We kind of went on a theme that the first thing that we all need to do is to perhaps better communicate with the audience and the people around us. And in essence, there is a lot of people that try to do well and interested in trying to help, for example, indeed, as we heard from our speaker, the people that are incarcerated and so on, but sometimes they don't know what language to use. And from there, we also realize that the language which is used has always and often been shock values kind of imagery, right? That's what we had as the initial discussion. It's like you see this fried egg, or the drug is going to do that to your brain, or it becomes really like an inflated kind of imagery of someone coming to kill you, or perhaps justice and justice system, incarceration, and all of that is being talked as an efficacy, something that a government need to have numbers. And by trying to focus too much on that, we lose the fact that of two things, right? The first thing is that, first of all, we are totally missing that, of course, all of those injustices are destroying lives and families and communities. So a lot of those heartfelt message need to be brought into the discussion, but also a lot of those social justice discussion, or perhaps trying to improve the justice system, has to compete with organizations that try to do that have to compete with organizations that have simpler messages that also talk to people, toward the heart. So perhaps we need to try to learn how to communicate to a broader audience. And then we also talked about how we perceive the justice system in our neighborhood or around us. And then we had also this parallel between US and South America, perhaps. And, one interesting point was that we should look at the at the justice system and looking at how it is implemented today and will affect the generation of the future. Means not only affect because, as I said, sometimes the families and the communities are destroyed, but affect because it's a mentality which is carried forward. And one example which was brought up is that in South America, the system is biased toward a male kind of society. So if there is like a divorce or any kind of things like this, it's gender biased. The guy is going to win over the woman most of the time, or let's say 99% of the time. And it did feel a little bit like the same kind of bias that we have as a racial bias in this country, where the justice system also at a very level of the police already put people in boxes, right? It's like, oh, this community is Black and Hispanic. We have to act this way. This one is white and wealthy, and we will act that way. And it's already put in boxes, and it seems to be widespread. But we have to be a little bit careful about that. And then the theme was like, what can we do about this ourselves? And of course, what we can do is that the first realization is that there are differences. Of course, there are neighborhoods where that you can send your kid to after class, and they have music lessons and art and pottery and God knows what else, yoga, karate, and whatever. And some communities have none of this. I mean, you have to go. The only place where you can have an entertainment is to go to a YMCA, which may actually be an hour away from you, even by bus. And that is a problem. So what can we do? We can get engaged in our community and change and turn the tide. And by that is like educate the children, keep them busy, keep them out of trouble, provide them the entertainment that is lacking in the community. And I think that's actually a very powerful message because in fact, if it doesn't start with us, then it will not happen in those communities, because the money is not there to develop all of this infrastructure to sustain in a very active community. So the peace is an inside job, is perhaps also peace is also what we want to make in our own community. And the last conclusion was kind of like, a lot of the discussion about justice, police, and all of this is all about good headlines and politicians trying to get reelected. And again, the egg fried that is equivalent to your brain, and the horde of whatever from South America that is there to kill you. So all of those words, we have to move away, what we have to do is that we have to insist as the individual to not buy into this language, but change and shift the language and paradigm, and put our money and our resource where it matters. And where it matters is in our community. I mean, our highest, biggest, most highest price resource is ourselves, is the people that surround us, is the people that we can protect, educate, and push forward toward further change and toward the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there another facilitator? No, that's it. That's it. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. This has been, really everyone's comments about, where does it begin? And it begins with you, with us personally, and our finding peace. I think Jerome's idea of the education of the children, and to Anthony's point, because Anthony gave an incident which happened when he was 16, building strong support systems, where a child knows 4 or 5 people, or maybe 2, a phone call I can make, whether it's a phone call I can make to my pastor or a phone call I can make to my neighbor in the neighborhood. And for the neighbor to do more than it used to be, put a sign on your window that you were available, but to let children know that, you're in and I'm not just the old grandma, but, if you need to come to my house, I'm here. And I think creating that sense of community, how we do it, but it begins with young people for both sides, for those people who will be the guards or the power people, or those people who might unfortunately be victims of the unjustice system. I wouldn't call it the totally criminal justice. So thank you very much.